Welcome to your Key Discovery Point. I am Brett Burney from Nextpoint, joined by Doug Austin of eDiscovery today. Doug, we thought that AI was going to replace search terms. We heard that TAR, Technology Assisted Review, was supposed to replace search terms. Apparently, search terms have not been replaced, even when there's a case that involves OpenAI. This is a case that's been floating around for a little bit. You reported on it here that apparently the plaintiffs in Tremblay et al. Versus OpenAI have tried and tried and tried again to ask the court to force the defendant, OpenAI, to apply some additional search terms for productions. And the judge wasn't too happy about these repeated requests.
No, and certainly, obviously the irony of the fact that this is a case involving, a high-tech AI company and their dispute is over search terms.
Right.
But one of the things that I actually a couple of days ago we had the EDRM case law webinar for the month, and this was one of the cases on it. And I asked Mary Mack, I said, well, do you think, it's OpenAI and we're talking about search terms. Are we ever going to, be done with search terms on cases like this? And she said, well, I mean, what are they supposed to do? Run Google Gemini on it? Because they can't run OpenAI on it. It's going to look like a conflict of interest, essentially, which I mean, I'm paraphrasing what she said, and I hopefully got that right, Mary. But she had a good point. Regardless, a couple of things here. While I don't think it would have mattered what the plaintiffs did here, because the plaintiffs had requested to have input in determining the search terms on two other occasions, and Judge Robert Illman from California had denied it both times, but yet they went to the well a third time, and they basically said was, hey, it's just 8 search strings. It's only going to retrieve 345,000 documents. Not a big deal. And what OpenAI came back with is, yeah, it's 8 search strings, but there's 362 terms in those search strings, and yeah, that's the spot where where they're talking about it. So it's like, and I know you have seen them. I've certainly seen plenty of search strings that are just so convoluted and comprehensive. I mean, you're talking about, with 362 split over 8 strings, that's like an average of what, 45 terms per string or something like that.
Right.
Just absolutely crazy. The other thing they mentioned is some nonsensically overbroad terms, and they provided a couple of examples. And I thought I thought the couple of examples, which were actually back in that same paragraph.
Yeah, here we are.
Chat GPT and be doing. Which, not only is be doing nonsensical, but as you know, Brett, B is a stop word for most eDiscovery engines. So, in fact, Tom O'Connor on the same webinar recalled Craig Ball's post about can't search for Shakespeare's to be or not to be because they're all stop words. And one of the things,
your blog post, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was his. Yeah. I may have covered it, but he was the one.
You posted about it. I remember. I referenced that a lot still because it's still an important point to make to a lot of people.
Absolutely. And people, that's one of the common mistakes people make when it comes to search terms is the stop words. Also, we didn't mention this one, but memory, star, and data. One of the things you would be thinking is if you were going to look for, memories or memorial or what have you, you'd also look for memory, which actually would replace the I with the Y. So that particular wild card is under-inclusive potentially. So, it's one of those things where I think, again, Judge Illman would have probably denied the request anyway. But one of the things to keep in mind here is that you really need to, you need to know what you're doing when it comes to doing search terms and putting search terms together. And a lot of legal professionals think they understand search terms, but they really don't. And it's important to kind of understand what you're dealing with there. So I think that's, avoid trying to make your search terms or search strings too complicated. keep in mind stop words, and then don't get wild with wildcards. Make sure you understand what a wildcard is going to retrieve, which it could retrieve a lot more of things you don't want, or not retrieve if you put the wildcard in the wrong place.
So important to have some of that general understanding about how search terms work, exactly to your point, and I want to come back to that in just a moment. But also quickly in this case, didn't the judge get a little upset saying that like some of this stuff should have been hammered out in maybe some meet and confers or some other meetings? And I kind of see that both ways sometimes. That yes, I agree with the judge, this is certainly some things that you should have been discussing. Maybe the parties did. We don't know. Maybe they did in some of the meet and confers. And at some point, I know maybe you do need to take disagreements before the court. But it sounds like here the judge was was kind of putting it back on the parties to say you guys need to hash this out a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm obviously we don't know all the discussions that have been had and what have you. Certainly, Judge Illman felt that they had not really, that they hadn't spent enough time meeting and conferring on some of these issues. And in complex cases like this, sometimes it's hard to know where to draw the line because they're going to have, they're going to have things they're going to be disputes about. It certainly doesn't sound compared to some of the other cases I've seen recently that the parties were like just completely failing to cooperate. But obviously, Judge Illman felt like they could have gone, they could have gone the extra mile in trying to meet and confer on some of these issues a bit more. So that was one of the things he was also telling them they needed to do.
Good case here. You always link to, of course, now Minerva 26, formerly known as eDiscovery Assistant from Kelly Twigger. You can read the entire case there because Kelly and her team do a great job of at least allowing a public link, which are always very good to include in your post, Doug, and we appreciate that. And then I'll just throw in a quick little resource from Nextpoint. We have several blog posts exactly on this, just because this is not the first time that we've seen, of course, parties talk about search terms, that it was obvious that they should have known a little bit more about how search terms work, with even some different parameters, proximity parameters sometimes, and how to even basic Boolean search. I feel like, to underscore your point earlier, it seems like lawyers feel like or believe that they know how search works, because not only do we do Google searches, we've been trained on how to search in Lexis and Westlaw and other legal research platforms, Doug. But when it comes to the eDiscovery, in many cases, it is extremely important to take a little bit of a deeper dive, especially when you're getting down to terms that you may or may not believe are going to return some important information. So we've got a great blog post here: eDiscovery keyword search examples, get more relevant results in document review. I'll make sure that we include that in the show notes. But
yeah, and one final tip is just, I've been doing and advising clients on search terms for 25 plus years. I know you've been doing it a long time too, Brett.
Right.
And sometimes even I'm surprised by the results of a search. So you always want to do validation and really, like you say, sample your data set, sample the null set, understand what your recall is, and make adjustments. A keyword search is iterative, just like TAR is, and just like Gen AI is.
Yeah, don't take it for granted. Very important there. And this is a great case to kind of talk about this. I think at one point the judge said there's petty finger pointing between the parties here. Don't do that. That's a good key discovery point. Make sure that you take a little bit of a deeper dive into how search terms work in eDiscovery. Thanks for joining us as always, Doug. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks, Brett.